Hey, this is Lou Mangello from WDW Radio, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Let's do this.
The tangents as we continue all the way to episode 333 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. And according to Mobius, there is no magic within the TVA. I would like to argue that one exception, Loki's pants. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you joined us. Let's start off like we do every week on the virtual table and see who joined us this week.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in the TVA. Mid-century modern, just the entire aesthetic is just like, oh, I love this. Could use with a bit more bright color. I'm not a huge fan of the brown, but as far as like the shape of the furniture, it's so neat.
Oh, Rachel, never play Fallout. You'll never get out of it.
Yeah,
they have
exactly.
that same aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yep. I was getting Fallout vibes.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, there's just something about mid-century modern. Every time I see it, just makes my heart go flutter. But we'll get into that. We need to do the news first. Not a whole lot, although virtual fandom Christmas was over the weekend, but because it was virtual, not nearly the dump truck of stuff that we normally get, but a few things.
Well, and I completely didn't know it was happening until these little drips and drabs of news were coming out, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
So
I think they weren't necessarily going to put a whole lot into it because they're planning on doing an in-person event later this year.
We'll see.
That's the plan, at least.
Yeah.
So,
quotation marks, plan.
We'll but as for what we did get out of pseudo fandom Christmas, got some various bits and pieces for different fandoms. So we got a new trailer for Ghostbusters Afterlife and again, write in pencil theatrical release date.
Yes. Again, I repeat myself of more than a year ago with this one. Please don't suck. Please don't suck. Please don't suck.
I think it looks amazing.
I know.
I've watched the trailer several times. Every time I get goosebumps, and like goosebumps like early in the trailer, not like towards the end. Although it gets more goosebump, pimply as you get towards the end, and like you see the daughter that she's obviously figured out how to use the wand in like the gunner's chair of the Ecto One rolling down the streets, and then of course you get the hand and audio drop of there's a voice that should be very familiar to a lot of people. Mr. We're Closed. I'm like,
oh goodness.
Of course it's like I hadn't been paying that much attention, but apparently most of the surviving cast, other than obviously Egon, we don't have anymore.
Although the script obviously is taking pains to include his character in the story.
The fact that they're making it his family, and
which,
his legacy is just like that. I mean, if you can't have the entire crew back together, this is kind of a good way to do it. It's like, like, look, eventually Egon got married and had at least a daughter, and grandkids, and it's like, And then Paul Rudd is just Paul Rudd, so I'm here for Paul Rudd.
Of course.
But supposedly, both obviously we got the quick cameo of Dan Aykroyd, but yeah, both Bill Murray and Ernie Hudson are also supposed to make appearances, and obviously we got visual, both visual and audio confirmation of we got one. Yeah.
Yes.
I think she's moved on from that at this point, but and the way she's talking, I wonder if she and Egon aren't the ones.
Exactly.
It is entirely possible.
Because she kind of had the hots for him.
Yes. Well, didn't the cartoons, didn't they have them dating, or am I just canoning that from my younger years?
I'm gonna have to rewatch, because I have the show on DVD. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
I don't know.
Don't
ask my memory.
that cartoon was a staple of Saturday morning for me. I watched the animated series before I watched the actual movies, just because of
and there wasn't there
how
a
old I was. Yeah,
called Slimer and Friends.
I believe so, but that one was one of those. It's like, oh, it didn't do as well because it's about the sidekick. The random side character rather than the main. But yes, I believe Slimer and Friends was a thing.
Yeah.
Not for very long, but it existed somewhere.
And there's so many fun little Easter eggs just in the trailer, like the tiny little Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and one they gang up on one of them and are turning him into a s'more.
Jeez, it's all these little jokes. It's like, it's like, yeah, you didn't think about this in the 80s. Well, we're thinking about it now.
Yes. Yeah. So I was like, well, I know what I'm doing in November.
Yes.
Among other things.
Yes. I this is one I do want to see in theaters, and I'm really hoping.
Right now, it's only supposed to be in theaters. Right now, they're saying in theaters exclusively, no streaming anywhere.
Yeah, which it feels like this is a movie that should be in theaters. You should see it in theaters. So.
Yep.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
Let's do this thing.
Yeah. So right now it is scheduled for November 11th, I think, is what it said.
Okay.
Thereabouts.
So, yeah.
Again, write these things in pencil. And then also in November, we are getting Hawkeye.
Woohoo! Yay!
So we got our release date for the Hawkeye series on Disney Plus. So with Jeremy Renner obviously returning as Clint Barton / Hawkeye, and then Haley Steinfeld is going to be Kate Bishop, and
which it kind of floors me. Just, I mean, I know True Grit was out. Oh gosh. Coming on 10 years ago, a long time ago, but I'm just like, it's like, when you see an actor who you saw as a child or someone younger, and then they're several years later, you're like, oh, you grew up.
Yeah, exactly.
As people tend to do, but it just kind of was like, oh, you're old enough for stuff like this now. Yay! I liked you in that movie. I hope you're still good in. I mean, I'm sure she is. But it was just, I don't know, it was a pleasant surprise to realize that she was in this. Because I really liked her in True Grit. She did a good job.
Yeah. So we've gotten an image, and that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing beyond that, but we do have an image, and the date. So November 24th. On Disney Plus.
Yeah, so that one you can pretty much count on because it's gonna go streaming anyway. It's a show.
Yep. Well, that and they finished filming it, so.
Well, yeah.
It's in post production now, so. Yeah. And that is a Wednesday. That is the day before Thanksgiving, actually. So.
Yay. Oh gosh, I'm sure we'll be traveling, so I'll have to catch it at some point.
Yep.
That's the beauty of streaming. You can.
Everybody else is like watching football in their post Thanksgiving meal comas. You could be in the corner with a device of some sort with headphones on, being like, "Shh, forget football, I'm watching Hawkeye." And then when that's finished, I'm watching the Peter Jackson Beatles documentary. So
exactly. Yes.
Just hand me my pumpkin pie through the door.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Excuse me if I just happen to spontaneously burst out into Beatles songs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And then What If actually starts really soon. So it was like it's like
9 days from now.
Yeah, we were like, oh, it's gonna be so long in between the end of Loki and What If, and now it's like, no, it's like next week. So
for me anyway, it helped that I had a week where I was on vacation, and that week just kind of doesn't count.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, it's August already. Well, yeah, because I skipped the last week of July. I had that realization today. Yeah, I had that realization today at work. I was like, oh wow, we've got stuff coming up in the end of August and September, and it seems a lot closer on this side of my trip.
Yeah, it's like the fall semester starts when?
Yeah.
School starts back when? Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I realized that Alex starts preschool here in like a week or 2.5 weeks, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Let me get on that.
Yeah.
We need to get a couple supplies ready for you, my dear.
Yes.
Yes. The good news is his birthday is the week before, so I can just tell people when they ask me what he wants, like, oh, he needs school stuff, which I guess is kind of helpful for me, but maybe a little less nice for him, because right now he doesn't care because he's 4, right. But as he gets older, he's going to be like, Mom, do I have to get school supplies every year for my birthday? Yes, you do. We'll get some fun things.
That's what you get for being born in August.
Yes. If he had been born on his due date, it probably wouldn't have been as big a deal, because it would have been, tomorrow would have been his birthday, but that is my prerogative as a mother. I can complain. It's like, you were a week and 2 days late.
Mm-hmm.
You were 10 pounds at birth. Actually, closer to 11. Those 14 ounces count. Dang it.
You do.
Every ounce counts.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
If anyone doubts me.
Yeah. I'll take your word for it.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a good thing he's cute.
Yeah. Big news coming out of pseudo fandom Christmas from Doctor Who. First off, we got a trailer for series 13.
Yep.
Which is cool. So letting us know that Doctor Who will be returning later this year.
Yes.
So obviously not Easter Saturday, because we're beyond Easter, but
Mm-hmm.
they are in production. They did a panel with Jodie and Chris and
the new guy.
The new guy whose name I can't remember. I can't remember his name. I just know he's playing a guy named Dan.
Dan the Maytag Man.
Yes.
No one can.
Yeah, and Mandeep, because obviously Graham and Ryan have left at the moment. But they did do a panel. You can watch it. It's on YouTube. And they mentioned that they are still filming. They have been in production since November. So still working on things. But Doctor Who will be coming back later this year, and it sounds like probably not Christmas. Sounds like it might be a little sooner than that. So
yeah.
That being said, we now have confirmation that both Jodie and Chris Chibnall are going to be leaving next year in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna get series 13, which is going to be 6 episodes. at some point this year, probably in the fall.
And
that's going to
be
be,
supposed to be
it's one big story arc. Yes,
Yeah.
it's one big story arc.
Yeah, the way they made it sound, it was like comparable to the year of specials that they did with David Tennant, kind of, but more connected, if I'm reading that right.
Yeah. Which, again, connectivity is a very loose concept with Doctor Who, and actually really has been since the show started. Because I mean, even if you look at like the Key to Time run, like technically it's all connected, but it's kind of not.
It's kind of like, here, write your own episodes. Oh, but by the way, make sure you have at least a scene or two where they're looking for this, key thingy, and they watch that season, and you're like, okay, this is connected, quote unquote, by this one,
and toss in
by the one MacGuffin,
the Black and White Guardian.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
good old Terminus.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when they say it's connected, although I think these days connected is more connected. Maybe.
Yeah.
Because they have someone at the helm in the writer's room, making sure things actually do make sense, unlike classic Who. I'm looking at you, Trial of a Time Lord, where people got fired and he had to bring other people in and be like, we need you to write a script, and by the way, we can't tell you about anything that happens in the scripts that have already been written. But just have to make sure it's connected.
There's a trial, so that's how it happens.
Yes.
That's all you need to know.
God bless Big Finish.
Yeah.
For just
fixing that.
Yeah. Anyway.
So
this season of a specials-ish thing?
It's going to be a season, but it's only going to be 6 episodes, but I think we're getting previous where the episodes are longer than traditional. So we're still getting quite a bit of content. And then 2 specials for next year, already planned for 2022. And then a feature length episode, which will be Jodie's regeneration into whoever the next Doctor is.
So creative accounting on the part of the BBC scheduling department is like, oh no, you are totally getting the same amount of time, just not the same number of episodes.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, okay. So yeah. Well, there you go.
And let the betting and prognosticating begin as to who's going to be the next Doctor and who's going to be the next showrunner.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, okay, the showrunner they could announce. I kind of hope, and I know this will not happen, so keep wishing, but I kind of hope that they could keep the new Doctor under wraps and make it a surprise. But I know it won't happen because they run the risk of tabloids or whoever spilling the beans, because that's what always happens. But dang it, it'd be nice to be surprised.
And also if you want to keep appearances surprises, then you can't film outside anywhere.
Yeah.
So that means location shooting is completely off the board.
Yeah.
Which is not nearly as fun or interesting visually when you have to stay inside a soundstage. So
well, I can dream.
Yeah.
I can certainly dream.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't blame, I would not want to be in their shoes to have that responsibility. So in any form or fashion. So good luck to the folks at the BBC, and presumably Chris and Jodie will have a say in who their successors are. Presumably, so. But apparently Chris and Jodie made an agreement that they were going to do 3 and out. So they did they took the long-standing advice that goes all the way back to Patrick Troughton. 3 and out.
Yep. Yep.
So
where Tom Baker didn't seem to take that advice, but you know what? That's Tom Baker. He kind of does whatever he wants.
Yep.
And everyone just sort of loves him for it.
Yep.
So there you go.
Apparently, like I guess they want Jodie's doctor to go out with a bang, also because apparently the BBC will be marking its 100th anniversary next year. It's the centenary for the BBC.
Yeah, that's why they requested the feature length episode.
Which I'm totally down for it. Bring it on. I hate to see Jodie go. I can't say I hate to see Chris Chibnall go.
Amen, sister.
Like I said, I don't know if I necessarily mentioned this, but I know I said this in the Doctor Who panel. I did it in conjunction that Chris Chibnall is obviously a talented showrunner and writer. If you see like Broadchurch, that's obviously where his strengths are, and he needs to play into his strengths. It's just kind of like Rian Johnson when he tried to do Star Wars, and I was like, but then I went and saw like Knives Out, and that's a really good movie. It's like, okay, obviously this is where his strengths are. This is where he needs to be putting his effort into, is where the strengths are. So I think Chris Chibnall will probably move on to something that's probably plays to his strengths a lot better.
From the minute that they announced him as a showrunner, and I'm looking at the episodes that he had written for Doctor Who previously, they ran the gamut from meh to why the hell are you here? And so I was very shocked that they picked him. And it's been kind
mixed bag, shall we put it?
Ranging from the mediocre to the, again, why the hell are you here? So I mean, and I'm kind of looking and I'm like,
well, any showrunner that decides to do an entire episode so that is nothing that has nothing but spiders in it, you're not gonna win any gold stars from me. So whether you write that episode or not, the fact that as showrunner you get the final okay and you gave the okay stamp on that,
there was, I mean, I know there's a lot of talk and chatter from different places, and Jodie, I feel like she did her best with what she can what she was given. She's no Peter Capaldi. I'm sorry, Peter Capaldi was given some pretty crap scripts and he could elevate them. Just by sheer talent alone. Jodie, she did her best. I wish she'd had better. I really do. And Chibnall did not, and the writer's room, however they did it, was just did not do her any favors.
Nope.
So I'm a little sad that she's leaving too, because I would like to see her under a different showrunner.
Same here. I would have loved to have seen what she could have done under a different showrunner.
Chibnall, don't let the door hit you.
Best of luck to you, whatever comes next. But
exactly,
can't say I'm going to miss you a whole lot. Sorry.
Well,
you tried. You gave it the old college try.
I saw this quote, and it was kind of mean, but I also kind of liked it. It was Stephen Moffat, it was an interview he did as he was leaving the show and Chibnall was taking over, and they were talking about the TARDIS, the control room, the TARDIS set, and that Chris Chibnall wanted it destroyed for Jodie's regeneration, even though they had just built a new one. And Stephen Moffat said, well, if you want to destroy...
And they had just done that with the previous 2 regenerations.
And Stephen Moffat was like, if you want to destroy perfectly good things, you do it. Because Chibnall wanted Moffat to write that scene. And I'm just kind of like... And the video I was watching was kind of like, you want to destroy perfectly good things, huh? And he kept using that quote. And I'm like,
Shouldn't have given him that opening.
No, you really shouldn't have.
You shouldn't have given them that suggestion.
Yeah, I don't think he necessarily destroyed anything, but he is just not his cup of tea. It's just not his strong suit. And
there are some people who are more suited to doing their original ideas, and I have author friends who have written for they come I mean, this is about books and things, but the premise or the principle is the same. Is you come into an established IP and you have to know what's come before, and you have to know the lore, and you have to know blah 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 all the way down, all these things, and a lot of people can do it well. I mean, I look at Kevin J. Anderson, who has made a career of being of like Star Wars, especially in Dune, and has done well for that.
X-Files he did.
X-Files, lots of different things. He's one of the big fish who's done that, and I know a lot of authors who have done that too, and they have said like it's a different thing coming into an established franchise and saying, okay, this is what I have to work with, and I have to do it this way. Otherwise, this story will not mesh with what's already come, and the fans are going to be pissed. So, there's some people who can do it, and some people who are better doing their own thing, and that is totally fine. It's just,
yeah. So, well,
anyway.
Best of luck to all of them, and
I don't even know who I can think of who I would want to be taking over, because I don't think Mark Gatiss will come do it.
No,
and Nick Briggs is too busy with Big Finish, so
somebody wants Moffat to come back, and then somebody's just like, hey, Michael J. Straczynski, we know you're an American, but if they would offer you the showrunner job, would you take it?
Well,
he said
we will see. Speculating does no good, although I guess the bookies enjoy it.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
and who knows at what point like we'll get an announcement too. And that's the thing, is like it could happen at any time. So
please don't drop tomorrow. Please don't drop tomorrow.
Yeah, really.
Oh gosh. Could oh geez, can you imagine? We're recording and talking about this, and we're like, well, we'll have to record an addendum and say, so by the way,
yeah,
record scratch.
Yeah.
Hopefully that won't be the case.
No. I highly doubt it, but the possibility is always there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm sure they'll wait till after the Olympics are over.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That is true. Oh my gosh.
Well, speaking of Doctor Who, we are in a new month, and that means book club updates.
Yes, for our book for this month, well, it's an audiobook, The Spectre of Lanyon Moore, and I have the poll for September up. The choices are Wheel of Ice, Shakespeare's Notebook, and then I have 2 audios, The Land of the Dead and The Holy Terror.
I may actually have to jump into this month's discussion. Spectre of Lanyon Moore is the 6th Doctor.
Although next, not to sway the voting in any direction, but I'm just saying the Holy Terror has the 6th Doctor with a companion that can shapeshifts into a penguin.
Yes.
So
I think I know what Chrissy's voting for, and I most definitely know what I'm voting for. I'm not going to show any hands, but flipper flap. Flipper flap.
Not that I would try to impact the voting at all. No. I mean, please vote your conscience.
Did we mention that the penguin sometimes fancies himself a detective?
Yes, and the noir.
Like Humphrey Bogart, if he was a penguin.
Yes,
I'm just saying.
Yes,
yeah, it would not be the end of the world to do 2 back-to-back 6 Doctor stories. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Nope. And depending on how the vote goes, October's choice might have the other Frobisher story. for voting.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. Hey, what can I say? I like the penguin.
We are so terrible.
I mean, it's Big Finish. You really can't go wrong, as we've mentioned 5 bazillion times, and we'll continue to wave that flag. So,
yes.
But yeah, go over to Goodreads and join in the fun.
Yes, please do.
So that is this news. So
and FYI, Holy Terror is available to listen to on Spotify.
So, if you're pinching your pennies.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I did try to make the choices that are, even though the main range prices are reduced, but I also made sure to choose ones that were in the Spotify playlist to be able to listen to and partake.
Yes. Although remember, this month is Spectre of Lanyon Moore, not the Holy Terror. That one's one of the voting choices.
Yeah. Yes, those are the voting choices.
Even though we were, squeeing over Frobisher, but
Yes.
Spectre of Lanyon Moore was one of the first ones I ever bought, so I've had that one for a while.
Can't go wrong. Sixth Doctor in the Brig. Hey.
Yeah, this one. Yeah. It's not like Spectre of Lanyon Moore is anything to turn your nose up at either. So
no, it's the Sixth Doctor and the Brigadier together properly. If you don't want to count that special that shall not be named.
Speaking of Big Finish writing injustices, mind you. Together again. Gosh, it's good to be together again.
Oh my. One of these days, either on this show or another, I'm going to have my opportunity to talk about the special that shall not be named.
We've talked about it.
Yes.
Is this the special that I'm thinking that has a crossover between a soap opera? British soap opera?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. Yep. Yeah. The special that shall not be named.
Not be named, yes.
So, all right. Well, moving on from the news to feedback. So we got some feedback from Shalane talking about Black Widow, and I don't think there's anything really spoilery in her feedback. There might be a little, so just, I guess, if you're still trying to avoid Black Widow spoilers, skip ahead, I guess. Although really here from the rest of the show, there's going to be spoilers because it'll be tied into Loki too, so MCU related things. So spoilers for just the MCU from here going forward, I guess. But Shalane said she loved Black Widow. She was awesome. Yep, she was right. She also loved Yelena. She was awesome. And Florence Pugh, even though she only knows her previous from this in Little Women. But she is excited that she's also supposed to be appearing in the Hawkeye series again. Spoilers. She asked some questions. In Age of Ultron, when Wanda gets into her head and we see some of her past with the ballerinas, she asks if those were Black Widows. Yes, that was part of the Black Widow program, was the dance lessons. So they probably taught them several forms of dance, but ballet, the movements and the flexibility that comes from learning ballet have other applications. Yes. So
there are professional football players in the past who have taken ballet because
it helps you become very nimble on your toes. Yep.
Literally on your toes.
Yes. Yeah. So then those flashes in Age of Ultron, yes, that is the Red Room, the Black Widow program. She also agrees that it's funny that David Harbour has to deal with Russians in the next season of Stranger Things, and in this he plays a Russian. So,
yep, that was definitely the joke.
Yeah. She says she's also going to go back and rewatch Falcon and the Winter Soldier because of Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Because we will be seeing more of her in the future. And then she asks another question: is Deadpool actually be in the MCU? Because New Mutants isn't part of the MCU. As far as we know, yes, Deadpool will be coming into the MCU. I mean, he kind of already has, in a way, if you've seen the video of Deadpool with Korg from Thor Ragnarok.
See, okay, here's the thing. We're gonna you know, we're gonna go from the Doyleist perspective here for a quick second.
Yep.
Deadpool has made bank for
Yes.
the non-Disney MCU in the Fox side of things. New Mutants was a bit of a, I don't want to say it was a flop, but it didn't do.
It was a mess.
It was a mess. So, you know, the Disney MCU, they can, like, they would be stupid to not bring in Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool into the MCU in some way, shape, or form. I mean, if he's, you know, just kind of being a wise ass and cracking jokes and stuff in trailers or whatever, I mean, they're going to include him because he's a gold mine. And so I kind of feel like they're gonna be picking and choosing the Fox X-Men related stuff.
We'll see some. We'll see recasts for pretty much all of the mutants, proper mutants. You know, like the X-Men, Wolverine, and the like. But Deadpool will stay the same. This is one of those things where the actor makes the character. And the actor is very important. I'm looking at you, Washington Post or whoever, Washington, whatever, over the weekend, where they were like, the actor doesn't matter as far as these Marvel movies is concerned. The audience doesn't care who's playing who's playing the character. They only care about the character. And I'm like, what planet are you on? What are you smoking? Dum-dums?
I think that there's still that people are still, you know, having a bit of a laugh about the recast of Rhodey, and that's been what, 10 years now.
Even something simple as that, though, I still think Don Cheadle is still better.
Yeah.
And I mean, look at the other the other recasts. I mean, we're on our third Bruce Banner, but I think they got it right.
Yeah.
We're on our third Spider-Man. And I think they finally got it right.
Well, and it seems
we're
like
going to be on our third Fantastic Four, and they're probably finally going to get it right.
Yeah.
So
the other thing too is, like you mentioned, possibly recasting Wolverine. I kind of and maybe, you know, I would have to see who they would get and how they rework the continuity. Hugh Jackman left a huge spot to fill if they want to include Wolverine in any capacity.
And the thing is, there are so many other mutants and X-Men.
They've
besides the core group that we're so used to from even like the cartoon.
They have never done Kitty Pryde properly, and I mean. She's one of, it's not the original X-Men animated series, it's X-Men Evolution, which is the one I'm most familiar with because I never got into the original one. And the Kitty Pryde in that one is so good. I loved her. And like when they were going to include Kitty Pryde in Days of Future Past, but they really didn't. She was just kind of the engine to keep the thing going. I'm just like, that's not Kitty Pryde. You got to do Kitty Pryde better than that. and according to Jared, who he knows the comics better than I do, like she's done a lot of crazy awesome things in the comics. It's like, come on, let's give Kitty something cool to do. I mean
we've already got her husband, right? Because doesn't she marry Colossus?
Yes.
So.
Well, and he needs a little bit more to do. But like, yeah, X-Men is not just Wolverine. So I kind of hope they'll leave Wolverine alone because, Hugh Jackman kind of, let him, gave him a really good ride. And I would really hate to see. I don't know if I'd hate to see someone recast as Wolverine, but it would be a really tough go for someone to.
Well, even Professor X and Magneto.
Yes, exactly.
Those are going to be tough to recast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with, I mean, they kind of did it with
give us the B and C list tier like mutants. I mean, you gave us Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can give us, like, I can't even think of a good X-Men that would be like. I haven't watched all
Gambit,
of
Jubilee.
Gambit. Yeah, I would say Gambit. They kept trying to give him his own movie, and it never happened. So come on, let's bring in Gambit.
Do Gambit. Nightcrawler is really cool.
Yes.
I mean, Jubilee even has. I mean, this is going to be a controversial statement. Jubilee's kind of obnoxious, but I think you could do her well if you did it right.
Yes.
And she doesn't have to be an obnoxious mall rat.
Yeah.
So yeah, the X-Men, there is a wealth of material there. So don't just stick with the old standbys.
Yeah. But Deadpool is not likely to change.
No.
Oh, if Deadpool would change, there'd be riots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think. And it feels like Ryan Reynolds is kind of taking ownership of the character, and
he kind of has.
Yeah. And it would kind of be wrong to not use it, not have him.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into this actually as when we talk about Loki. There are some actors that like they embody the character. Someone like a Robert Downey Jr. who's just he is Iron Man, he is Tony Stark. But then you also get like your actors that they are the character, but they have like taken ownership of the character. They know this character inside and out. They know all the lore and everything. And I think Ryan Reynolds has done that with Deadpool. So it's just like we were talking about Doctor Who. You get someone in there that understands this property and could treat it with that reverence that it deserves.
Yes, exactly. And it helps when you have people who are fans of it in the first place and who do right by it. So anyway, that was all over the place. Talking about Deadpool and X-Men but then again, you bring up the X-Men and you inevitably go on tangents because everybody has their favorites.
Yeah. Well, in a way, it kind of gives us a good segue into our main topic, Loki. Yeah, you want to talk about someone who not only was born to play this character, but also gets the character, and that's Tom Hiddleston with Loki. Especially if you watch the behind the scenes on Disney Plus, the Marvel making of, I forget what it's called, series.
Something assembled.
Yeah, Marvel Universe Assembled or something like that. It's its own series on Disney Plus, but they did one for WandaVision, they've done one for Falcon and Winter Soldier, now they've done one for Loki. And it's very obvious watching that with Tom Hiddleston that like he gets Loki.
Well, okay. How long has it been since the first Thor movie? We're coming up on 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah, that's I think what he said in
10 years.
The documentary. Yeah.
So I mean, he has been, consistently called one of the more memorable villains in the Marvel universe, just because Marvel, the movies, like the villains kind of tend to not stick around, mostly because they get beaten. There's only been a handful that you really look back and say, oh yeah, I really, that villain really stuck with, I remember what they did, and and certain things, and Loki is one of those that did,
Mm-hmm.
and it's he's charismatic, you kind of like him, like you want him. He's had a bit of a
you kind of want to root for him.
Yeah, he has a character arc. I mean, even like the terrible things he did in the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
But you still like, they work to redeem him in certain places, and which is why when Thanos killed him in Infinity War, I was just like, I don't like you.
Yeah,
exactly.
I want to see what Loki does. I want to see. I want to see him and Thor, figure this thing out, and rule Asgard, and have him not be kind of a dick.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly.
But and then I was like, well, okay, I know they've said they're giving Loki his own show. ...
Yeah.
So
it's like, here's this loophole in Endgame. How are we going to fix that? Oh, wait, here we go.
Yeah.
6 episodes later.
And then we find out the Infinity Stones. Not as strong as they were made out to be.
Yeah. If Thanos saw that drawer full of Infinity Stones,
oh,
he would just be like, well, screw this.
Yeah, it was that. There are times that I'm just kind of like, you just nerfed the Infinity Stones. What the heck were we just doing in the last, 20?
They only work in the universe they came from.
Well, yes, I know.
And the TVA is outside of any universe.
Yes,
so
I'm getting to that point. Yeah. So it's kind of like it was a shock that's like, oh yeah, we're definitely out of the Infinity Saga because. And okay, who cares about those anymore? They're paperweights now. And, poor Loki's like, oh, well,
excuse me.
So, what do I do now?
Yeah.
So
I'll say, take that Honus Wagner card and pawn it.
Yeah.
For some cash.
It was like, wait a second, you want me to find a different version of me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like we're getting into it pretty deep.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's kind of pretty straightforward, but this is the Loki that escaped in Endgame with the Tesseract when Tony accidentally dropped it because somebody told Hulk to use the stairs. No stairs.
And it was the other ultimate... Tony that told Hulk to use said stairs.
Yes. So really, Tony has no one to blame but himself, literally.
Exactly.
This is the ultimate use of the trope for want of a nail.
Yeah.
Yeah, so butterfly effects and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. Yeah, so that Loki escapes and immediately branches off.
Yeah, and he doesn't get too far because the TVA. No, it is not the Tennessee Valley Authority. if you know your New Deal history. Which
it's not the TVA. It's the TVA. It's not the TSA. Yeah. It's not the Harper Valley PTA.
Yeah. Well, they kept saying the TVA, and I kept thinking, being a student of history that I am, I'm just like, it's not the thing about from the Great Depression. It's not that. It's this cosmic. I don't know. I'm like, did they choose that on purpose?
It's like the Time Lords.
Yes,
but a lot of Time Lords couldn't help but interfere.
Right.
Yes. Even though they say they're not interfering, but they're interfering.
Yeah.
So basically,
they're putting right once went wrong.
Wrong being in quotation marks.
Yes.
Because supposedly there's these almighty timekeepers that decide how time should flow. Because reasons.
Because they put themselves in charge, basically.
Yeah, just like the Time Lords.
Yeah. And then, Loki and everybody, who's affected by him is like, well, who are you to say? And they're like, well, we're the TVA, we say. And then they prune you, which means they take this stick that's got a glowy end at the tip, and they just touch you with it, and you disintegrate, seemingly.
Yes.
It's not enough, it's not, this isn't like MIB, where the Men in Black, where they flashy thing you and you just don't remember. No. You gone. You're gone.
Yeah. You are... Game over, man. Game over.
Yeah. So here's where
very appropriately enough, the fact that you made that reference there, Holly. Hudson and Hicks.
Yes.
Are both characters that appear in this, which are a tribute to Michael Biehn and Bill Paxton in Aliens. R.I.P. Bill Paxton, who eventually would go on to be on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as the clairvoyant. There you go.
Yep.
That's how you connect everything.
And Bill Paxton had the line of "Game over, man" from Aliens.
Yep.
Such a classic. Anyway, so Loki is trying to get out of the TVA, and he meets up with our friend Mobius, played by Owen Wilson. And
wow,
I love him in this.
He is amazing in this, and I realized as I was watching this, I was like, it has been so long since I've seen Owen Wilson in anything. Like, I can't, it's like, where have you been, dude? I mean, and
making low box office numbered comedies.
Probably, yeah. It's just whatever. But
I don't know the last thing he's done.
Yeah, so it's like, oh yeah, you're a thing. It's just it's a thing. Like in Hollywood, you want to be in the Marvel movie, and so this is his turn. But he's not just a throwaway, one-off character. It seems like he's going to be around. It seems.
Yes.
And
please be back for season 2.
I mean, he has been voicing Lightning McQueen for a long time. So
that is true too.
He's got that sweet Pixar money to sit on.
Yes.
So
although some of the shorts, it's somebody else voicing him, and I know this because Alex loves watching all the Pixar Cars shorts. It's like, no, that ain't Owen Wilson.
He has done some of the shorts, though.
He has done some of them, not all of them, but some.
And Lego The Incredibles video game.
So Owen Wilson makes his triumphant return as a dude from the one of the agents of the TVA, and he is on the mission to find variant Loki that keeps killing all the TVA agents. And so he brings in our Loki that we know and love, and basically breaks the poor guy, because it's like, here, this is what happens to you, and shows him, it's this is your life that you haven't lived. But you're going to, but you should have, but you're not, but you didn't.
Yeah. If you hadn't escaped, this is what was going to happen next.
Right.
Yeah. And it's
and this is what you did. You killed your mother.
It's like here's these horrible things that we know that you've done. First, trying to kill your brother, and when he gets exiled to Earth, and all that. Oh no, you killed Coulson. Thank you for the reminder for that. Like, I don't need to be reminded every year about how Loki literally stabbed Coulson in the back.
Yeah.
Thank you for that flashback. It's like, and here's the things that are going to happen to you in the future.
Yeah. And it's kind of like it's kind of interesting because this is the show. It is Loki's show, so he is the main character. His name is in the title, and so we assume that we're going to like him along this journey. Well, here, let's remind you of what a jerk he's been so far. Here, you killed Coulson. Here, you've done this. Here, you've done that. And you're like, okay, this is an interesting way to establish Loki in this show and how we're supposed to, sympathize with him and all these things. But okay, let's see where you're going. Also, Mobius, you're a fun character, so I'm along for the ride here. So, we'll stick with you. So yeah, I did, and you kind of watch it and you're wondering like, where is this going, and why, how is all this going to work in the end? And I was like, okay, is Loki, gonna kind of be the special consultant and gonna go off and start doing Loki things, but in defense of the sacred timeline? Like, how are you gonna get Loki
Like,
to
are we doing like
play
a
ball?
prodigal son here, where it's like we're gonna go consult with the criminal?
Yeah.
Because they know how other criminals think.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm like, and it feels like that's what they're setting up in the beginning. And I'm like, okay, I'm here for it. And this is gonna be a good deal. And and then there's so Loki, he kind of comes out of this thinking like, and what is the line Mobius gives him? It's like, you're not gonna get what you want. You are there to, your purpose is to give other, like have other people show that they're better. I'm making a hash of the line.
I mean, it's essentially it's essentially reiterating essentially what Nick Fury said in the first Avengers. Is like they needed a push, and Loki killing Coulson did that.
Mm-hmm.
His actions cause the quote unquote actual heroes to, and they tighten even have their britches and be like, okay, I'm gonna do this thing.
Yeah. I mean, they even have that shot in there of the spin around all the Avengers getting ready to fight the aliens coming into New York in the first movie. I mean, it's like, okay, we're gonna hammer this home, and Loki, this is your purpose. This is your, the episode's even called Glorious Purpose.
Glorious Purpose. Yep.
This is all you do, is you motivate the heroes to be the heroes, and that is all you do. You don't get anything good or happy, or you don't get anything you want. And it's, it is a real slap in the face to Loki, especially because he's in this place where he has no powers, he has no authority, no nothing. I mean, even the Infinity Stones, if he were to get the Tesseract back, they are useless. So he's kind of this, it's like, kick the poor guy when he's down and almost out. And yeah, it's like, okay, and like the whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, this is fascinating. Where are you going with this? Give me a bone here. And they kind of do. In the is it the next episode or the episode after it, where Loki is like, okay, like, yeah, he's agreed to help them, but you can also tell he's trying to trick them too. And he's trying to figure all this out, and then eventually and they go on their first little mission, and he's trying to
he agrees. He's like, okay, fine, I'll help you out. So he sets off to go and do some research, and the librarian at the TVA is like, you're allowed access to like these 3 books. Everything else is restricted. And he realizes
he's trying to charm her at the same time.
And he realizes that the variants that they're looking for, the reason they can't find them with their tech and everything, is because they're hiding in apocalypses where the world that they're at is going to end anyway, so whatever they do doesn't matter. So therefore, it's not going to put a blip on their radar.
And
so that they go to like Pompeii right before the volcano.
I was looking for a TARDIS.
Which, that scene, I loved it. I loved seeing Loki just be Loki for a few minutes. Like, he's just,
like, telling you, look at me, you're all gonna die. It doesn't matter.
It's like, you all are gonna die, the volcano's gonna erupt, and he's the god of mischief, and I just loved it. And I'm like, more of this, please. And we didn't get it. And I mean, it just that was, I felt like they put Tom Hiddleston on a set for to be Pompeii, and it's like, okay, give us your best Loki, have at it, go. And I was like, yes, I love this. He's being obnoxious, and he's being funny, and I love this. And
and it helps hammer home the point to Mobius that it's like, look, I am the god of mischief. If anyone could screw up, time, obviously I would be the one to do it. So therefore, here I am being, not classic Loki. That's somebody else.
Right? Yeah.
I'm being stereotypical Loki, doing Loki things, and look, nothing's happening. So it goes to prove my theory correct. Like, I can't screw anything up.
Yeah.
Right.
Therefore, the variant is not screwing anything up.
Yeah.
And for future reference, if having Loki explain to something, make sure you don't have any food near you.
Yes,
Mobius's poor salad.
Yeah. I mean it's kind of like up until that point, Loki, it was just like he just kept hitting brick walls and brick wall after brick wall, and he's trying to do his thing and trying to, be clever and be, Loki. And he just keeps getting stopped, and I'm just like, okay, for a show that's called Loki, he's not really getting anywhere. And it's nothing's really happening for him. And then the Pompeii scene is where I was like, okay, you got me back again for a few minutes. Because finally he's clever. He's not just, he's not just being led around by the nose and being stopped because the TVA is more sophisticated and in a different universe and beyond him. Because I expected this show to be about him.
It is, but it's just not that specific him.
Which was we'll get to that. Yeah. So anyway, they figured out that Loki is the Loki variant is in this future event in Alabama where it's just this apocalyptic hurricane, basically. That the town gets wiped out, and it's
and a lovely callback to Roxxon, who we have not seen in quite a while. So, but Roxxon Corporation, which in one version was a corporate front for Hydra.
Yep.
Oh, gosh.
But we had Roxxon and Agent Carter in Daredevil, Iron Man, and even the one shot. A funny thing happened on the way to Thor's hammer.
So there's this going on, and they're trying to find the Loki variant. They find the Loki variant. Surprise! It's a lady Loki. And the Enchantress theories started running rampant, I noticed. Which is a thing.
Yeah,
apparently.
Which really this version is an amalgamation of Lady Loki and the Enchantress.
Yeah.
Which are technically two different characters, because Lady Loki is a version of Loki.
Yeah.
Sylvie the Enchantress was just a person who had magic abilities who Loki trained.
Yeah.
But is not a version of Loki. So
I had to go to Jared and like, is there such a thing as Lady Loki? Because I'm confused.
Yep.
And he was like, oh yeah, and explain the whole thing to me. So I was like, okay, we're going with this. So the variant is like is the female Loki, and our Loki is trying to talk to this Loki and figure out like what her angle is, what she's doing, like what her why she's doing all of this, and
because that's what every Loki does. Every Loki has an angle.
Yes.
Yep.
It's like you're trying to talk her down, trying to even get on her side to a degree, and then there's this whole big chase through the TVA basically, and they end up on another world that's having an apocalypse, momentous. And then you have the talkiest, not the talkiest episode, because that's the finale. Spoilers. But a pretty talky episode, which I didn't mind because I felt like we were finally getting Loki. We were getting more of Loki and not just this being TVA, the show. And I kind of liked how they were talking about things, discussing what their angle was. They were stuck on the planet because the Tempad ran out of battery, which, convenient that.
Yes.
You would think with all the technology that the TVA has, they would not have batteries that don't lose any charging.
Yes, it's like this isn't my phone that's like several years old and the battery is starting to wear out. I mean, come on, guys. The whole Lamentus thing, it was like it felt like more of this is an excuse to get Loki 1 and Loki 2 out of the TVA so that they could talk amongst themselves, which I didn't mind, except I didn't get the information that I thought we were going to get. Like I don't ever feel like we found out why Sylvie was pruned. Or we
don't.
No. It's like
even now with the season finale, we still don't exactly know why Sylvie was considered a variant, especially at such a young age.
Yeah, it's like because they show her
she hasn't really done anything yet.
No, I mean if it was just it's Loki but is a girl, you would think that the variant would have been taken as a baby.
Right.
All she was doing was playing with toys in Asgard, and it's like, this makes zero sense, but okay. So I mean, it's a good opportunity for them to have a conversation.
Yeah.
I just kind of feel like they didn't need to waste an entire episode, especially where it's a 6-episode season, on letting them have some space to have a conversation, and they just are running around in this world that's dead and dying. I mean, everyone's dead, Dave. You just don't know it.
Mm-hmm. Another day, another Dave.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and then
there's some good production value in that one, though, because that last sequence from there's like an explosion, and they both get thrown back, and when the dust settles, it's not a one shot because there are cuts, but they edit it in a way and put the cuts in spots where you don't see the cuts, so the entire thing it was shot like a one shot. So it's this amazing sequence after this explosion where they're like, we need to get to the shuttle. We need to get off this planet before it gets destroyed. And they're running through crowds and they're jumping over things, and because everybody else is like, oh my God, we're all gonna die, and
they're partying.
And there's other people are like, whatever. Yeah, exactly. And they're just all these crazy things, and like the planet they're on is like a mixture of like nowhere and like that weird casino planet that they went to in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that one episode. And just like I got so far into the sequence and I'm like, there's been no cuts. This is all just one single shot. And then watching the behind the scenes are like, yeah, no, we shot it like a one shot, but technically it's not. But I was like, you could have fooled me. You could have just been like, yeah, this was all done in one shot. And I would have been like, absolutely, I believe you.
And I do remember that sequence. I also remember being very lost because there was just so much going on. My brain just could not absorb it all. And it was just like, okay, what is going on? And then at the end, the shuttle blows up and they're stuck there anyway. And I was like, well, that went nowhere.
That's how they felt about it too. Like we did all that work and we're still stuck here.
Yeah. And it's just like, so, they're stuck there and the planet is going to die. And they kind of have this little moment. And that's what opens up the blip or whatever they're calling it for the TVA to find them.
It's like, technically you're in an apocalypse. You shouldn't be able to, because as we established with the Pompeii thing, technically anything they do shouldn't alert the TVA to where they are, except when they're going to smooch. Apparently that's significant enough.
Yes, which I can...
to put them on the TVA's radar. Above an apocalypse.
Yeah. Which I'm like, any other character I'd have been like, ew, that's gross. It's Loki. I mean, I don't know how much of Norse mythology that the Marvel
Loki has had children with horses.
Yes.
And alligators. And
Loki is a
kissing
shapeshifter.
another version of himself is the least of our concerns.
Yes, exactly. Like I've seen people like, ew, that's incestuous. I'm like, guys, are you the kind of people that look at Back to the Future and you know watch Lorraine kiss Marty and think, ew, it's her son? It's like, guys,
Mm-hmm.
get over it. It does, that's not what this is. Like, is this the kind of people? So yeah, that one, I can buy this. Out of everything else that's been going on, I can buy Tom Hiddleston Loki falling for Lady Loki. I can buy. I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I actually
Loki falling in love with a version of himself is the most narcissistic Loki thing Loki could ever do.
Which is what Mobius says when they realize that's what's happened and why they. And I'm totally on board with this, because I mean I okay, there are certain times I love to ship characters. Once if I'm on board with it, I'm on board with it. And this one, it sounds bizarre. Loki's just bizarre, guys. I don't care. I love it. I love the idea of the two Lokis, Loki and Sylvie. You know, I love it. It just, and I think it's down to Tom Hiddleston has just that kind of charisma that you just believe it. And I'm sorry, I keep forgetting the actress's name who plays Sylvie, but she was great too. I mean, Sophia
Di Martino. She did fantastic.
Yes, her. She was. I quite liked her. I did. And once, you know, and
I mean, it's Tom Hiddleston. You know.
Well, yes, and it, you know, at this, you know.
And then you throw the magic pants on him, and then you're just like, everybody is just like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt like, you know, back when we were watching Once Upon a Time and you know, all the shipping there and stuff, I was like, oh, this brings me back. And I'm like, I'm not thinking about it. I don't care. Time travel, other universes. There are loopholes here. I don't care. This works. This is just great.
And in general, the MCU does not give us a lot of opportunity for shipping anyway.
No.
Romance is not usually very high.
No.
On the storytelling.
No, it's
priority
really not.
list. So
but I'm a sucker for a good love story. What can I say? But you know, and I just kind of it clicked with me, so I didn't have a problem with it, and I'm just kind of like, every now and then I'll just kind of sit back and think, I don't have a problem with this, and I think that's amazing. So yeah, so Loki and Sylvie are they're figuring this out. In the meantime, the TVA is we're finding out that they're a bit
things don't look what they seem.
No, they are not being entirely truthful, Miss Minutes. We haven't even mentioned her yet.
Howdy, y'all.
Oh, God.
So you find out your variant. Oh, my God, Tara's strong.
Yes.
I love it.
Now, on the first episode.
I was just saying to Chauncey the other day, too, because we were moving some photos around. And we've got like all of our celebrity photo op photos are hanging in our bedroom. It kind of looks like one of those like New York or Los Angeles restaurants where they put up all the celebrities, like, this person's eating here. It kind of looks like that. And I have a photo of me and Tara Strong from the year that she was at PopCon. But at the time, I was like, oh my God, you know, My Little Pony. You know, that was like the thing that she was currently in at the time. You know, but obviously she's done other things, you know, like Powerpuff Girls and a whole bunch of other things.
Gosh. It's
but
like,
it's so funny.
But
it's so funny looking at it now, and I'm like, well, I didn't know it at the time, but she's part of the MCU now. So I have a photo with Miss Minutes before she's, and funnily enough, she's wearing orange.
Oh no.
Oh my goodness.
So.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Miss Strong, are you a variant?
Yeah. What did you know all the way back in 2000? Blah blah blah.
Yeah. Now, because you watch the episode and then you watch the credits, because of course you watch the credits, and that has Tara Strong as Miss Minutes, and I was like, okay, she was in that one little explanation video. It's like, okay, yeah, you want to credit Tara Strong for sure. And then they kept crediting her.
Miss Minutes and Mr. DNA from Jurassic Park are related.
Oh, I'm sure. And it's just that, I mean, she just kept showing up, and it's like, what are you doing, Miss Minutes? Like, what is your deal?
And she seemed, every single time she'd appear, she'd get a little more ominous.
Yeah.
And it's like,
You're just waiting for her to. You're just waiting for her to do that stereotypical Southern thing, because she's got that Southern accent, and just be like, "Bless your heart."
Yes.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean bless your heart. It means something else.
That only means that bless your heart means you're being the biggest idiot on the planet, and I know it, and everybody else knows it, even if you don't know it.
We're just gonna sound real nice and cordial while we say it, because we have manners, y'all.
Exactly.
And get ready for your beat down.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But yeah, so there's a little something going on.
I've been watching a lot of Golden Girls. Can you tell? There's a little Blanche Devereaux in there.
Yep.
Anyway, so they get back to the TVA. Mobius figures out, and he razzes Loki about it a little bit, because you're so narcissistic. Of course you'd fall in love with yourself. It's like, well, duh. It's kind of a breather episode. This was it, 4th episode, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When our Loki gets sent to the time prison where he's constantly getting beat up by Lady Sif.
Yeah, he keeps getting kneed in the balls, because
which that actually does come from Norse legend. There is a Norse legend in which Loki cuts off Sif's hair.
Yep.
And I don't know how this. I'd have to look up the story, but supposedly Loki cutting off Sif's hair somehow leads Thor on the quest that leads to the creation of Mew Mew.
I think so. I want to say I made it mostly all the way through Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology, and I swear he might have had something in that with Loki cutting off.
I'm just like,
Lady
how
Sif's
does
hair?
Loki cutting off Sif's hair have to do with the creation of Mjolnir? Now I need to find the legend and read up on it.
I'll say this. This is Greek mythology. There was one moment where one of the Titans got their nether regions cut off and thrown into the ocean, and that's how Aphrodite was born. So it's mythology. It's gods and goddesses. Weird crap happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so
just go with it.
And Loki, he's trying to apologize, but the thing just keeps getting reset. And it's a funny moment, but again, it's like Loki is kind of the butt monkey in all of this. It's like this is your show. Why are you still getting crapped on? Like, for real?
And it's just like, okay, Xander Harris from Buffy the Vampire Slayer was kind of the butt monkey with the monsters, and he got a little ticked off, like, I'm done being everybody's, monster magnet. You were kind of waiting for Loki to do the same.
Yes, I really genuinely was. It's like he's, at this point, he's kind of working in good faith, or trying to do, trying to appease everybody, or trying to, get, just figure things out, and nobody is giving him a break. I mean,
his reputation unfortunately precedes him, and it's like,
this is true.
We can kind of tell that yes, Loki probably is trying to put in a genuine effort here, but as far as everybody at the TVA is concerned, he's just the god of mischief, and he's a liar, and he will pull as many strings and manipulate to get what it is that he wants. So,
I also
can
think
you blame anybody that's like, yeah, no, we're not. We'll trust you as far as we can throw you.
Well, I think he's also
fair.
trying not to go too far, so he gets pruned, and I'm not going to be around anymore.
Yeah,
I like being me.
The other thing though is like again, I keep going back to this show is called Loki. This is his show. This is his story, and I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of Lokis running around by now. Yet this is our Loki. This is the Loki that we're following and have been following since nearly the beginning.
Kind of, sort of, not really, because that Loki is the one that died in Infinity War. This Loki goes to the Battle of New York, and that's it.
Yes,
this isn't the Loki that we're gonna. This isn't the Loki that actually experiences his mother's death.
He does
Dark World.
He does to a degree, because
he just sees that she dies. He doesn't. He's not there to experience everything that leads up to that, and then what happens after that.
His relationship with her, though, is, it's still the same. Like, you never feel like it's any different, even though he's done all this other crap. It's the whole thing about it is, it's like, you want Loki to succeed, have his happy ending, if you will, and it just keeps eluding him. And like that whole
as
bit
Coulson
about,
said, as he lay dying on the helicarrier, he's going to lose. It's in his nature.
Yes, exactly. But they keep leading us on like he's going to get, something good is going to happen to him. He's going to get whatever it is that makes him happy. Something good is going to happen to him. And it feels like there's a lot of bait and switch with that. It's like, okay, you give me hope and then you take it away from me. Mostly, you're taking it away from Loki, but by extension, you're taking it away from your audience as well. And I realize that there is a season 2 coming, but after this season, and especially the finale, which we'll get to that, I am just like, do I even want to stick around for season 2 if all you're going to do is just lead me along in this story and not give me any kind of payoff? That's what really frustrated me about this show. And especially after the finale, where it was just, it wasn't Loki's show anymore. It wasn't about him. It was about setting up the multiverse of madness, which we already knew about because they announced what the Doctor Strange subtitle was. And it's like, wow, I didn't know that was gonna happen. Sarcasm heavily implied. I just like, wow, I could have just read the article, read some article online to find out about this. Like, well, I didn't need to watch that show.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have had the context.
No, I wouldn't have, but I wouldn't have felt so. I wouldn't have felt so. I don't know if betrayed is the right word. I felt it was a little bit wasted. It kind of felt like at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, when it's like, well, yeah, we know Sam is going to take up the shield because Steve gave it to him, and all this runaround just doesn't need to happen in a way. But this one is like, you set me up, you gave me all these promises, and you didn't deliver. And I hope you deliver next season, but I don't know how I feel about, letting you lead me around again. Anyway, that was my frustration with it, especially coming after the finale, where it was just this one guy talking and talking and talking. I'm like, shut up and do something, please.
That's the thing, though, is this guy really can't do anything. He actually has no power. It's like the Wizard of Oz. You suddenly find out that the great and powerful Oz, no power whatsoever.
Yeah.
He just has some knowledge that the other people don't have that he used to
Well, I don't care if he does something. I just want somebody to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well,
Mobius,
somebody did
enough
do
with the
something.
talkie-talkie.
Sylvie stabbed him and opened up the she batted around that wasp's nest.
Yeah.
And now
She touched the red button that shouldn't have been touched.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And the thing is like,
but at that point I was like, finally, can we go home now?
Yeah. And the thing is though, is we had like this whole like subplot of who's actually pulling the strings of the TVA, and the source of the TVA, and finding out that all the people that work at the TVA weren't created by the timekeepers, but are actually variants of that were pulled from timelines that had been pruned, which is why Owen Wilson has a fascination with the 90s and jet skis, which I can never look at a jet ski the same way ever again.
Well, and then, it's like, why didn't we get a scene of him on a jet ski? Come on,
because he hasn't earned it yet.
I am really
Tahiti,
tired of
Coulson, Mobius, jet ski.
Oh my goodness!
Make it happen.
Yeah, this is it's. I could completely understand some people's frustrations in it. I know you had made a Facebook post, Chrissy, and I don't necessarily want you to feel like I'm singling you out, because you're not the only person I've seen. And I've seen this complaint really since I think WandaVision, since we've been doing this Disney Plus Marvel thing. Is we are the Marvel Cinematic Universe is it's become so large and so expansive, and has been going on for so long, that we're still going to get some origin stories for some characters. Like we're going to see the development of Kate Bishop with Hawkeye, because we know that the young Avengers are coming, so we need to get some background on Kate Bishop, Kamala Khan, Riri Williams. We've got kind of an origin story for Wanda and Vision's kids ish. Wicked and Speed.
And a little bit of an origin story for Yelena.
Exactly. A little bit of origin story for Yelena. So
I mean, and they're piggybacking off of established characters, which I can definitely understand.
Which makes it easier, instead of having to do just a full-on origin story. Like even in Spider-Man, Spider-Man Homecoming, and we just get in the middle of a conversation of Ned hounding Peter with questions. And he's like, what happened to the spider? It's like, the spider's dead, doesn't matter. And it's like, that's all you need to know, because everybody knows Spider-Man's origin.
Well, yes.
So
we're on the third reboot of it.
Exactly. So, there's some characters that we don't necessarily need an extensive origin story.
Right.
And I said this with WandaVision too. We're getting to the point where they are developing content for I don't want to sound elitist by any means, because honestly, I want as many people to come into the MCU as they discovered as possible. It's just, unfortunately, if you're coming into it now and in the future, you're just gonna have to do a whole lot more of catching up. But I kind of feel like to me, it kind of feels like how I felt coming into Doctor Who. So far after the fact, just New Who. By the time I came into it on TV, the Doctor was already on. Well, we were already on the third. We were already on our third incarnation of New Who Doctor by the time I got into it.
But you were willing to go back and do the research. And
exactly.
do all of
but there were references to things, and they're laying groundwork to things, like leading up to the Return of the Master with, the not the bait and switch, but, just the big reveal with Derek Jacobi, and then him regenerating. It was like, I didn't know who the Master was. I didn't see the signs, because I didn't know what had come before. But that's where we are with the MCU now.
Yeah, but you also knew that there was a history that
exactly
that you, and you could go back and see all that.
Right. And I think that's where we are with the MCU now, is kind of like with Doctor Who, where it's just it's getting so big that, you know, they're going to continue making content, but if you're a newbie, you're just going to have, if you really want to do the homework, it's there. Or you can just be along for the ride.
Yeah.
And just enjoy it for the entertainment value of what it is, and you don't care about Easter eggs and all the little things.
The Easter eggs are there to reward the people who've been there for a while, but it's not, you know, necessary for the enjoyment of the show. At least that's what Easter eggs are supposed to be. And it's not just, here, we're gonna you know, make an episode about Easter eggs and just about all these things, because if that's all you do in an episode, you are going to lose your audience. And there's even Easter eggs about the comics, which, I mean, Jared knows about the comics.
I get completely lost on those. I don't even see them and know what they're referencing until I go and look after the fact. But once you get them, sometimes they're just Easter eggs for the sake of being Easter eggs. It's like, we need a sign here. It needs to say something. Here's some numbers and letters that happen to reference a particular comic book, and it really doesn't, you know, it's just a thing. But then sometimes I do put it in there, and it's like, hey, if you're willing to do like the extra legwork, you're gonna get a leg up on everybody else on the breadcrumbs of what we're laying down for what's coming. Because like even in the very first episode, there is a sign or something in the TVA where it's just T282, but it's refers to a comic issue number 282 of the Mighty Thor run, which features Immortus, who happens to be an incarnation of Kang the Conqueror. So right there in the very first episode, they're like, oh, here's a little something that if you're one of those people that really likes to, you know, peel apart all of the layers, you might feel like, ooh, there's a reference to Kang the Conqueror. Are we getting Kang? Yeah. So
well, I mean, and
it's very layered. That's the thing. Is it's like, if you just want to be surface level and just enjoy it for what it is, it's very enjoyable. The production value is great. You know, obviously, you know, we talked about casting a little earlier. It's like they do great with casting. As far as, you know, it's like, who, you know, if they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna make first of all, we're gonna make a Loki TV series, and people will be like, what? Oh yeah, we're gonna put Owen Wilson in it, and people will be like, what? Yeah. But now we're all like, oh, Owen Wilson, this is great. You know, where's he been before?
Well, I mean, can we skip ahead to Kang the Conqueror? I mean, I know there's a little bit more that we haven't talked about really specifically.
I mean, the downfall of the TVA, I mean, because of what Sylvie did, all of that stuff with Ravonna, how much is that going to matter with Ravonna? Although we're having Ravonna herself, again, she has connections to Kang and Immortus in the comics, so you know, if you knew your comic lore, you could be like, oh, there's another reference to Kang.
Well, and there's the thing, I didn't know that. I mean, I assume she's coming back because she escaped, and you know, she's gonna, you know, be
but the TVA that she left no longer exists.
No, it doesn't exist. So she's out causing problems. But okay, let's get to Kang the Conqueror and the finale, because this, I think, is what really set me off.
Well, in this case, it's He Who Remains.
Well, He Who Remains. This guy,
which is this version of Kang.
this dude, okay?
Yes.
So I'm watching the finale after, you know, we've had this. We had this really great episode with all the Lokis, and Richard E. Grant is classic.
Oh my God, I loved it.
It was great.
And then it was Loki.
And Crocodile Loki.
Alligator Loki.
Loki.
There's a difference.
There is
alligator
a difference.
Loki, not Crocodile Loki.
Anyway.
So, and there's fun little Easter eggs. There's a lot of Marvel Easter eggs when they're in the void too.
Yeah.
Like all the stuff. Like there's a version of Stark Tower that is destroyed. There's a Thanos copter in there. Plus there's this fun little pop culture Easter eggs in there, like Kid Loki, when he's on his throne, is drinking an ecto cooler box. Speaking of Ghostbusters. Anyway,
and see,
sorry.
there's all these little Easter eggs, and they're fun. And we get there's all the Lokis, and I'm like, great, here we go. It's Loki time. This is going to be amazing. And it was fun. And then, I mean, even the thumbnail on Disney Plus was, Loki, the politician Loki. I think it was supposed to be President Loki.
President Loki, yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, is he going to be a big deal? No, he's in there for one scene, and he gets his hand bitten off, and that's about it. And it's like, I could tell Tom Hiddleston
I love that
was
scream
having
that
fun.
Tom Hiddleston gives them when his hand
Yes.
gets bit off.
And then, Loki and Sylvie figure out a way to get past the Goliath, and classic Loki, does his big, glorious purpose with all of that.
Like only Richard E. Grant could look that badass while wearing bright green and yellow tights.
I mean, we had some really, really good Loki moments in that. Just from
and Thorg. Don't forget Thorg.
Thorg, yes. All these really cool things. It's like, yes, these are all different versions of Loki, but they are all pieces of the same person. So it's like there's a lot of insight into our Loki and Sylvie and all these other people, all these other characters, because these other variants had different experiences, but they responded to the way they responded to these experiences tells us a lot about just Loki in general. And I'm like, I felt like there was a lot of good lore and storytelling there, and I wanted more of it. And we only got it in really one episode, which I was like, oh, I'm so bummed about this. Then we get into the finale when Loki and Sylvie are getting to the end, and I'm like, okay, whoever's in charge here, it's got to be another Loki variant. I mean, it just has to be. And then they reveal, and they act like it's this big, huge reveal, like you're gonna be like, oh, I can't believe they did that, and it's this guy, and I'm like, who is this? Why are you here? Why do I care? What are you? I'm like,
He's
I'm
the
sure
man behind the curtain at Oz.
He is the man behind the curtain at Oz. I don't know who he is or why I should care. And clearly Sylvie and Loki don't either. And he's just kind of he's just talking. Like what is all this? It's very much tell, don't show. It's like I would have this show felt like it should have been an origin story for the TVA. And so tell me this story about this guy, put it in a movie or a show, and let me see him make these decisions or have these problems with the time travel and all the different versions of himself and how there's this big war. Don't just tell me about it in someone else's show. And this is where I just was like, this is your season finale, and it's just this guy talking and nothing happening and just giving me a whole big bunch of info dump exposition backstory that would have been better served to have been its own thing. And that is where I mean, for those who did see my Facebook post, I was just like, wow, and more wow.
And that's not an Owen Wilson wow.
That's not an Owen Wilson wow. That is I expected better of you, MCU wow. Because you had an amazing story here that you could have told, whether in movie form or in TV show form. Maybe TV show form would have been better, I don't know. And you didn't do it. You just shoehorned it into my boy Loki's show because reasons. And I don't even know who this He Who Remained is supposed to be. I really don't. Miss Minutes came back and tried to explain things, but she was kind of vague and telling it in half truths and
I think she's beholden to him.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
So.
But I
think she's right hand lady.
Yeah. We never, I mean, it was never made clear what her purpose or role was. She's just kind of this, it never felt like anything was explicitly spelled out. And not that I need everything explicitly spelled out, but a little bit would be nice every once in a while, just so I feel like I've gotten somewhere. That I've not been just wasting my time and holding on to nothing. And I feel really bad because I really wanted to love Loki. I enjoy Loki's character. I've loved Tom Hiddleston in the role. I was excited for him to get this show, to kind of have his moment to grow in the spotlight and to see more of what makes Loki tick. And we did get some of that in the second to last episode. But then it was just kind of shoved aside in favor of, here, we got to set up the multiverse, which I didn't even know needed to be set up. Quite honestly, I just assumed, okay, well, they time traveled, the multiverse is going to happen. So, yay. I didn't know that the TVA had to be a thing for it to be totally destroyed.
Well, it's one thing to know that there's a multiverse. It's another to have that multiverse of madness. Why is the multiverse now in turmoil?
Right.
And again, that would have been
what
nice.
What is the thing that Doctor Strange is now going to have to fix?
Well, it would have been nice to have seen that origin rather than just having some dude at the end of the timeline sit there at his desk and explain it to me like I'm in, freshman calculus where my eyes glaze over and I'm like, what?
Now, was that first multiversal war, was that the war for the Infinity Stones, or is that a different war entirely? Or did I miss something in that?
I don't think they were specific enough to say one way or the other. So I think that I'm just spitballing here, but I think that Eternals is going to probably explain some more things to us.
Gotcha.
Shang-Chi maybe, or I mean, Shang-Chi obviously will fill in some things, but I don't think Shang-Chi is quite going to look back as far as Eternals is. I think Eternals is going to go further back in time and help fill in some of those gaps. So I think and
anyway, those are my frustrations. And
and I can totally understand that because not everybody is going to get into the TV shows. So if you're not watching them, there's going to be people. People are going. You're gonna lose some things if you really. If you're really concerned about the connections. Now, if you're just like, if you went and saw, again, spoilers for Black Widow, if you went and saw Black Widow and you saw, Val in that post-credit scene and you're just like, who's that? And, someone gave you the Cliff Notes version, like, oh, she creates kind of the anti-Avengers group. You'd be like, okay. And, that's a thing that's going to be, be on your way.
And that kind of detail is like, okay, that's easy to explain. And it, you don't need, like, if you missed a movie or missed a show, that detail's fine. It's kind of this whole, it feels like this multiverse thing obviously is going to be pretty important, and it just kind of felt like a throwaway.
I don't think it's so much a throwaway as it's just they've given something and not all of it. It's incomplete.
Yeah.
But that's how we keep coming back. So.
Well, I understand that. It's like, okay, I've watched shows before, and I've watched season finales and I've seen cliffhangers, and I've also gotten some payoff for
eventually.
But this is season 1's finale, and I got no payoff.
Yeah.
And
I mean, going back, I mean, it's not necessarily an absolutely equal comparison, but going back to Doctor Who, the crack in Amelia's wall, when did that finally get resolved? At the end of Clara's, Clara and 11.
Although there was other payoff in that as well, like the Pandorica, and there was. I just don't feel like we got any payoff in this. It's like I'm fine with cliffhangers, and I'm fine with promising, oh, we'll get to this later, but here's some payoff for this story that you've been watching and investing in, and so you don't feel like you've just kind of been dragged along and gotten nothing for your trouble. And so that was kind of my frustration, is like, I've just sat through 6 episodes of this, and what did I get? I don't know. I get it. Not everybody feels the same way I do, and that's fine. I'm not here to rain on anyone's parade, nor do I want to just say, that sucks, I'm never going to watch any of this again. I was just, after I watched the finale, I was just very frustrated, because I expected more, because of calling this the finale, calling this the end of season 1. I was like, okay, we're gonna we have all these questions. I expect some answers, maybe not all the answers, but a few would be nice. And
they were kind of taking a page out of the X-Files book.
There's a
whole bunch of questions.
There's a reason I didn't ever get into X-Files.
Answer forthcoming.
So yeah, I mean, I appreciate the need to keep the audience coming back. A little bit of closure every once in a while is nice, especially at the end of a season. That's all.
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't get any.
This is new ground that they're trying, and all the other shows have just been one season and done.
Yeah.
Right.
This one, they know we're getting at
season
least
2.
a second season, so they're like, how do we do this without giving away too much for the actual movies that are coming in the next 18 months or so.
Yeah, and maybe they'll figure out a better way to balance. Okay, we can do this in the show and have it feel like a complete season, a complete show.
Yeah.
But still leave stuff open for the movies and things. And maybe I just have to be a little more patient with them.
While they figure it out. Yeah.
While they figure it out. And like I said, I made that Facebook post. I was fresh off watching the finale, and I was just kind of ticked off. So it's
I can see where the frustration is coming from. I can understand it. I don't agree with it, but
and I'm not expecting anyone. If you don't agree with me, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I understand why you're frustrated. I don't have the same feelings, but I'm also one of those people that has to I'm one of those deep divers.
Yes.
So any questions I might have, I've answered them by doing those deep dives.
Yeah. Oh no, I understand. And that was the other thing, is I should know who
I'm sitting here with 4 tabs open, with different wikis and stuff. Who is Kang the Conqueror? Who is, other versions of him. The fact that a version of Kang is Nathaniel Richards, Reed Richards' father. It's if that isn't even a bigger indicator that we're getting the Fantastic Four sooner rather than later, I don't know what is.
Yeah. And see, I haven't been. I mean, I didn't even know who this actor is, and and so it felt like that reveal was oh, you should know who this is. I'm like, I kind of don't.
Yeah. It would be kind of the same way if the release order hadn't changed because of COVID, and we had gotten Falcon and the Winter Soldier first before Black Widow was released in theaters. Then we all would have saw Julia Louis-Dreyfus and been like, okay, who the hell is she?
Well, we kind of did, because Falcon and Winter Soldier was released before Black Widow was in theaters.
You know what I mean? The production, the release order was going to be different, and she was going to be a big surprise in theaters before I ever saw her in TV. And we all would have been like, who the hell is she?
Yeah.
So
whereas in Falcon and Winter Soldier,
in the words of Willy Wonka, strike that, reverse it.
Yeah.
If Black Widow had been released before Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes. Okay. I was like, wait a minute, what?
Sorry, having a Willy Wonka moment. Strike that, reverse it.
Okay. Well, part of that was I knew we would get emails.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I know the release order being screwed up, that didn't do us any favors.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade. I'm not trying to tell you to hate it because it sucks because I said so. I mean, this is just and
it's a first world problem.
Well, yeah. and I kind of feel like, and this is, I'll go on a bit of a tangent. I kind of feel like this is a big problem in fandom in general, is that one person will say, "Oh, I love this thing. It was so great and wonderful and awesome," and someone else like, "Well, I didn't really feel that way," and they'll be like, "Well, you're just wrong," and it's kind of like
that's not how we roll here.
That's not how we roll here.
We wouldn't have been able to do the show that long for 7 years plus if that was the case.
So we're not sitting here going like I'm not saying you all have to hate this because I said you do, and if this isn't like religion and politics where you have to agree on everything, otherwise you're Satan or whatever. I'm just voicing some of my frustrations and my hang-ups, and the fact that I haven't been able to really deep dive into things as much as I used to. And I recognize that, and I just stuff happens.
Well, even like I don't have a full-time job and 2 kids to take care of like you do, but I also have before, when we were doing like just this show, and we had an MCU movie, I could do the super deep dive in a short order of time and be ready to go. But now it's like, okay, I need to look into these Easter eggs and stuff that was in Loki, but I also have
another podcast to prepare.
I have another podcast I need to prepare for too. And do like the Oscar history and everything for that. Plus I'm, prepping for future topics for this show. So it's like just the preparedness and the research that I have to do. I mean, granted, I'm not complaining really.
No.
This is like the stuff I live for. Honestly, like I should just professional researcher, just if that's a thing, like you need me to look up shit for you, I'm your person.
Hey, I do that for a living.
But you also have to talk to people.
I don't have to but I don't get to choose the topics that I'm looking up.
Well, that too.
True.
But anyway,
true.
I understand, but it's just it's life.
But it's like, as much as I'd love to sit here for like 12 hours and like be like, oh, this person, that thing and that Easter egg and blah 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 blah, like there's only so many hours in the day.
Also it feels like these Marvel things, whether it's the movies or the shows, they're coming out a lot more often.
Well, we went from like zilch to this is our third Disney Plus series. We've got one feature film out now. The next feature film is literally due out in like a month. We're getting to the point now where they're releasing like the little featurette things for Shang-Chi. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not watching those because now we're getting more footage. So it's like,
I'm not talking about going from, nobody in the theaters because COVID. I'm talking about like even before, because it used to be like you get 2 Marvel movies out a year. Well, now we're getting 3 plus plus like 3 TV shows in a year, plus this, plus that, and that, etc.
Content.
So it's
etc.
So we review one thing, and then in a couple weeks we have another one brand new thing to review, and it's just like,
which is why we're doing these like after we've gotten the entire season, instead of trying to do like for some shows we would do like the season opener and then wait till the end. When there's only 6 episodes, that wouldn't work. We just wait. We just wait. So at least in this case, there's some exceptions. Like Doctor Who comes back, even though it's only gonna be 6 episodes, we'll probably still be like season opener and season finale. But again, it's like, we are the production people at Marvel are just like cranking it out.
They're like, boom, 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 boom. We're keeping you on your toes, and it's just like,
and it's just printing money.
Seriously,
money that they're going to have to pay Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness, yeah. We're
Mhm.
and that is
That's
all we're gonna say on that topic.
Yeah.
you know what?
I'm kind of reading the Disney War thing with the Michael Eisner. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Well,
history
at least
repeating almost.
kind of, but at least in this case, it appears that the guy at the top, Mr. Feige, is on ScarJo's side.
Yes, which is good.
He's just as ticked off about the entire situation as she and her
Yeah.
people are. So, again, Kevin Feige, love you. Please don't ever leave.
Yes.
Speaking of ruining perfectly good things, if that were to happen, anyway, there's a joke that's several layers deep. But anyway, yeah, that's a mess. That's just
yeah. Oof. Well, and then the little kerfuffle with the what ifs and some voice actors getting changed, and then a certain actor not getting asked to do the voice.
Oh no.
Yeah, well, it was for the what if for the Guardians of the Galaxy. They had asked, it was actually, what's his name, who directed the Guardians?
James Gunn?
Oh, James Gunn. Yeah.
James Gunn had tweeted and asked James Bautista, hey, how come you aren't doing the voice of Drax? And he tweeted back, dude, I was never asked.
Oh.
Yeah, that was just like, whoa, wait a minute here. Now, it makes me wonder with some of those other substitutions if the actors were asked and they declined, or if they weren't asked at all.
You know what? And the thing is it could have been that just because Batista wasn't asked doesn't mean that his agent hadn't been approached.
That could be true too. Yeah,
because there are all sorts of stories in Hollywood where actors
with agents turning stuff
missed
down.
out on like big roles that could have been like life changing. And they were never asked, but their agent was, and their agent decided for them that they would decline.
Yeah.
Time to get a new agent.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get to the bottom of that one.
Yeah.
But drama in Hollywood. What? Never.
Yeah. Only in Hollywood.
They're all just one big happy family who all love each other and never ever ever talk bad or undercut or do anything rude to one another. Never.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, how's the saying go? They put the fun in dysfunctional.
Right.
It's like a Wes Anderson movie. No. Speaking of Owen Wilson.
May he get his jet ski in the next season.
Yes.
Please
do. And may Loki help him get his memories back.
Or something. Good grief.
Yes.
Dang, they were just those two. I mean, you kind of watch Loki and Mobius in this show, and you're just like, why has no one ever put Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson on the same scene together in anything? Like,
exactly.
This is gold, man.
Yes. I mean, you could just let them go and ad-lib. I mean, this is almost like to the point of Christian Kane and Aldous Hodge. Just let them go to town and riff.
Yeah, gosh, I just that was the thing that just really that really surprised me and delighted me was just how good those two played off each other.
The chemistry,
and I was ready for a buddy cop sort of dynamic in this show. It's like, oh, they're going to be partners. That's what I wanted. And we got some of it, but not enough.
Yeah. Well, hopefully with season 2, we'll get a little bit more.
Yes. Like, please make that work. Because dang, it was so good. So good. Anyway, that was
season 2.
Yeah. So season 2 is coming. We'll see how everything plays out, and it's not like this is gonna be dependent on just itself, because there's gonna be a whole lot of other Marvel stuff impacting it. So we shall see. Anyway,
as long as they keep Tom in those magic pants.
Yes.
I have to find that article. There's an article. It's an interview with the costume designer. Because they because the TVA, it kind of looks like it's stuck in like the late 60s, early 70s, right down to the outfits. And the costume designer was like, well, those polyester pants don't have much stretch in them, and Tom does a lot of his own stunts, so he needs to be able to, like, jump and run and this and that and the other thing. So she ended up, if you're a seamstress, this will make sense to you, but she ended up putting like a gusset, which is like an extra strip of fabric essentially in the crotchal area to give him more flexibility. If at the same time, it's like just the way that Hiddles wears those pants are just like gusset. What, I don't care what you call it. It's just, that's just magic. Right there.
Yes, and he can't help but stand with his feet apart. just stands. Like there was that bit at the end of, well, it was in Lamentis where they're watching the shuttle blow up. And I'm like, why are you standing like that? But just he has his feet. I don't know. If you watch the episode, you'll know what I mean.
Like, not quite the Picard maneuver with the stance, but
yeah.
It's not quite the right. At least he's not doing that. Well, he could. Let's bring in the Riker maneuver for season 2.
Jeez, yeah, he could. But yeah, it's like his,
I was
his
going
body.
To bring up a certain Goblin King.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it's like his body is trying to make the letter A. Is basically what it is. And you'll A
plus.
A plus, and I was like, that is such an unnatural stance in this situation, but I kind of like it.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not hating it.
No, it's like I'm married. I'm not dead.
Exactly. Exactly. And this man celebrated his 40th birthday with the day they started production.
Oh, that was so cute.
Yeah,
the
Tesseract
cake.
Cake. And thank you, Kenneth Branagh, for being pals with Hiddleston and seeing that, hey, you got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'd make a great Loki, because he sure as hell would not have been a good Thor. I'm sorry, but watching some of that screen test footage, no.
Like,
that's right up there with Tom Selleck is Indiana Jones. It's just wrong.
Yep.
Again, go watch the stuff on Disney Plus.
Yep.
Indeed. Alrighty, well, that's Loki for y'all. Yeah, go enjoy the magic pants. Anyway,
that's a win-win for everybody.
Yes, and it's
like potholes. What potholes?
Yeah. Anyway, just watch the magic pants and ignore the talky bits. Anyway, I've got someone waiting down my door to get in here, so we're gonna have to wrap this up.
Yep.
So, if any of our listeners have a thought on Loki or any of the Marvel shenanigans going about right now, please send us feedback. Our email address is 5ishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also go to our website, which is the5ishfangirls.com, and find links to our social media and ways to support the podcast and all other kinds of fun grooviness, because yay. And hooray jet skis.
Yes.
Yep. All right. Well, if there isn't anything else, then we shall sign off for this week.
This is Chrissy saying goodnight from Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Now I just want to change, speaking of a certain Goblin King, I just want to change some words to man, dance, magic pants.
And it would fit too.
Pants, magic pants.
You have been listening to the 5ish Fangirls podcast. You can find more episodes and information at the5ishfangirls.com. Any and all books, movies, games, and any other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied. If you wish to support the show, the easiest way is to leave us a rating and review More ratings and reviews will make it easier for others to find the show. If you wish to support us monetarily, you can do so at patreon.com/5ishfangirlspodcast. All money goes towards fees and equipment to keep the show going. For official 5ish Fangirls merchandise, visit redbubble.com/people/5ishfangirls. We love hearing from our listeners and encourage feedback. You can email us at 5ishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also like and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/5ishfangirls. Thank you so much for listening, and may the squee be with you.